cast your hearts to a time long past, a time of heroes and magics, a time when on the amber plains of Hathnir stood the great tower city of Aost. It stood tall and proud, its great parapets keeping fast watch on all who approached. But while the tower was a symbol of pride, its pride paled in comparison to that of its people. Though people traveled from far and wide to see Aost's splendor, they let none enter their grand city. Only the people of Aost could enter, for only they were deemed worthy of its splendor. This earned them many enemies, but try as they might, they could not conquer the great city. Its walls were impenetrable, and its tower kept close watch on any who might stray too close. There the people lived for generations, content in their splendor and superiority, but one arose whose heart differed from his people. He is known today as the unfettered or the wise, but to them he was simply Felric. Felric was not content with the splendor or glory of Aost. He hungered for more. He wanted to meet these unworthy savages from outside the city, to see the places they called home and to travel to the other great cities of the world. And so, despite the many warnings of his fellows, he left behind the comfort and glory of Aost to explore the world his people had deemed lesser. He first traveled to cities of their enemies, for all cities near Aost counted them as enemies. Disguising himself, he walked among them as a simple traveler, and was shocked to find them not savages but wily warriors, long dissatisfied with the pompous men who scorned them from their lofty tower. From there, he traveled to far distant lands, where he found other great cities, cities that not only matched Aost for splendor and strength, but surpassed them. In these cities, he spoke with many, from the most wretched of beggars to the wealthiest of monarchs, and found the poor as wondrous as the rich. He wrestled with Hrathnir the strong, and matched wits with the great Sphinx, and with every great wonder he experienced, he lost, one by one, the shackles of pride and foolishness that had chained his people since long before he had been born. He became known as a man of wisdom in all the lands of his travels, and the sages of each new land he arrived in rejoiced, entreating him to share his vast knowledge. Finally, after 100 years of traveling the lands and having seen everything that a person could see, he resolved to bring his hard-won wisdom back home, to Aost. But as he approached the plains of Hathnir, he found the unthinkable. The enemies of Aost, who had always hated each other more than they hated the haughty men of Aost, had united, and they now approached Aost under a powerful spell of invisibility. Each had brought powerful weapons of war, each capable of destroying Aost's now antiquated defenses. For while the rest of the world had grown and changed, Aost had remained the same. Felric rushed to the city intent on warning his people, but they would not let him in. "We do not know you," they said in haughty voices, for his travels had changed him much. "Please," he cried, "your enemies are at your doorstep. Flee for your lives." But the people of Aost, confident in their pride, would not be convinced. The great city of Aost, which had stood for generations as the mightiest power in all the plains of Hathnir, fell not in weeks or days, but in hours. It is said that the city burned for 2 weeks, and for 2 weeks Felric stood at its gates, mourning the people and cursing them for their pride. For though the wise may free themselves from the shackles of ignorance and pride, rare is any being who can cast off the shackles of the past which bind him.